All right. Welcome everybody to Security in 2022 and some low-cost solutions that will make an impact to your business, presented by Think Technology. My name is Jamie DeVoe, work in sales with Think Technologies, along with Tom Atkinson, who's on the call, and Annalise, who is on the call as well, working to facilitate and help out with this webinar on the marketing side. So I'd like to take some time to welcome everybody. It should be quite a short webinar, so we will try to keep within the time frame. We understand all of you are working, and keep in mind that the slides and recording will be available for send out afterwards, should you decide that you want some of the data collected. Now, GoToWebinar is a bit of a different product to some of you, but generally in the attendees view that you have your control panel, you should have a questions tab. And if you'd like to ask any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to just go ahead and type them into the question and answer bar, and either we will answer them on the fly verbally, or we'll get you an answer in the final moments of the webinar. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get moving on security in 2022. So just a quick slide about Think Technology. This is a quick view of some of our team in the Brisbane office and some of the team in the WAG office, which some of you may be familiar with, others may not. It's not the full staff, but gives you a good sense of the team that we have and where we're located, and I'll run through that quite quickly as we go through. So we're a company that was founded in 1995, which is quite a long time to be in the IT services game. Primarily, we focus on SMBs, small, medium-sized businesses in the space, and our customer base ranges all the way from 5 users up to over 100 users. So we're definitely in a space where we deal with all shapes and sizes of business, and quite skilled in being able to deliver that. We do have 9 highly skilled technical staff, and these staff range from level 1 all the way up to engineer. So really, there's no feat too small for Think Technology in terms of what we can deliver in IT solutions to your business. We're currently located in Brisbane, Wagga, Yas, and we do have remote workers in Malaysia, as well as Melbourne. We are a Microsoft Gold partner. This is a pretty high level status that not so many businesses are able to obtain. So it means that we are all things Microsoft. We're able to work with Microsoft Teams, obviously a large variety of different solutions within that product, Microsoft Azure, cloud services, all the way across the board. So we're completely certified in that, and we support over 1,700 users throughout Australia on the Microsoft product. As you may or may not know, a high level of our service level agreement with our customers is satisfaction. Our goal is to provide the best level of services on our tickets, our calls, and some of your partners. And the biggest goal is for us to get immediate feedback from our partners once we've delivered a service, so that we can quickly fine tune and understand internally what we need to do to get that excellent feedback every time. The good news is that we check these numbers weekly, and we maintain a 98% satisfaction rating amongst all of our customer base. And that customer base has grown from 150 to about 178 partners. Just obviously 150 sounds a little bit number, over 150 sounds like a bit of a better number for everybody. And we do maintain over a 5-star rating on Google for anybody who's reviewed us. So just a couple of things to highlight, obviously give you some familiarity to the company and the business. So starting off into the security and like why we're talking here today is to really drill into security. What we find more and more in our space is that companies do understand security is important. They don't really understand, what are the specific threats they should be looking out for on a day-to-day basis. And that is something we want to start to educate our customers more on, to ensure that you understand what are the top threats, how to effectively mitigate those threats, and really kind of work through providing a better security level for not only your environment, but also making sure your employees and your staff are well aware of the issues that could come about. So what we see is the top 3 threats to SMBs in 2022 are phishing, malware, and ransomware. Phishing is really a way of they name it phishing for a reason. It's because what typically happens is a bunch of hackers will send a wide net. So they'll send multiples amount of fake emails to multiple businesses or individual end users, giving out personal, private information, commercial, financial details. So what they'll do is they'll act as a specific user, maybe a high-level CEO within your business or a managing director or a friend that you really know well, expecting you to reply back to that email. And in that case, once they've confirmed your identity, they then use that to potentially deploy malware or ransomware within your site, or potentially use that data to gain password access, any kinds of other things like that. Now, we will have an example of that in the next slide. Malware is when we deploy or download a specific malicious software onto the device, and that malware can be used to spy on the environment. It can be used to disrupt or damage installed programs, and really just make the device work poorly in all ways, shapes, and forms, because it is a malicious software being deployed. Now, hackers do this in a number of different reasons. Mainly, it's to basically get a look at the environment. So they want to, steal information. They want to monitor the employees within your organization, get that data, and then they can use that information in order to change back bank details, things like that. And then last but not least is ransomware. And ransomware is a type of malware or malicious software. And usually what this does is effectively what ransomware will do is once deployed onto the environment, it will lock up your data and it will hold it for ransom. So hackers will basically deny access to the employees within the organization. They'll prompt a message to you to say that you need to pay a fee of X amount of dollars. And until you pay that fee, you will not be able to access your data. Now, all lines point to not paying the ransom, but we'll get through that in a couple of more slides as we go through. So namely, first, we want to talk about phishing. Phishing emails really are obviously the largest. These are the biggest ways for hackers or bad actors to be able to get information about your environment. And then what they do is they use that information in order to effectively hack into the environment potentially, or use the employees within your organization that might not be as knowledgeable in relation to security to be able to access data. So what you'll want to look out for, and we've got an example here on the right hand side, is they're quite good at this, which is a scary thing. Typically they can forge an email signature. They can really kind of get down to the nitty gritty, and you'll see these emails come through overnight. You'll see them at all random parts of the day. So usually what will happen is an employee will wake up in the morning, they'll see an urgent email from their boss, they'll open up the email and reply back and say, yes, I'm on it, or they'll actually download a specific attachment just by accident, because it's an urgent email from someone they know, and before you know it, boom, you've got malware out there, or you've replied back and confirmed your email address, which these hackers can use. So, one thing you want to look out for as an owner of a business or an employee within the business is you want to look out for generic greetings like "dear user," things like that, hello, anything that's going to kind of put you onto the scent of a formal kind of greeting that may not be normal from that individual person that's sending you the email. You'll want to see there will be typically false links. So you'll hover over a LinkedIn profile or something like that, and be able to see a destination or any of those things. So false links will really kind of put you onto the scent of, is this real? Is it not? So maybe a LinkedIn banner or something along those lines that really kind of show that it's not authentic. Wrong or out of date places of logos or design in the signature. So you want to take a look at the signature and make sure it looks like the company signature that you've been aware of. And if it doesn't, or there's logos out of place, it's probably malicious. Upsetting or urgent statements demanding you react immediately. I have a really good friend in the recruitment industry, and he was hit by one of these a couple of weeks ago. where the person asked him to go out and buy $1,000 worth of Apple cards, and just a young employee who had never been hit by a phishing scam, he actually went out and expensed it on the company card, and yeah, didn't work out quite well. So usually where these hackers will do is try to get the individual to act very quickly, and because employees, they're not used to these things. When they see a message for their boss, they want to get onto it immediately, and they'll mistakenly go ahead and action whatever that hacker or whatever that malicious email says. So just something to keep watch of. Obviously, the usual things: bad spelling and grammar. You know, these hackers are, you know, potentially in remote areas all across the world. English may not be a first language, so you may see poor sentence structure. You might see bad spelling, just because English may not be their first language. So it's other things that you want to watch out for. Requests for financial or personal information or data. Obviously, you know, nobody should be asking those things over email. So if you do get asked, you know, what's your financial data, or to go buy something, by all means, you know, it's something that you should flag and not reply to until you've gone through the appropriate motions, either reaching out to us, Think Technology, or your manager or someone internally in the business. And then obviously changes of information. So anything different to what you may have on record initially. So phishing emails is a real big one. It's one that is the most active that we see, and it is a segue or lead into some of the other ways that we can see security be breached within the organization. Malware. So malware is a bit bigger. It is an actual download or a specific software which will download onto the device, and it needs to be prompted in a large majority of cases. So it's software that is specifically designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to the computer system. So typically what these hackers will do is try to, you know, monitor your site, monitor the employee, and see, once they've got access to the system, they can see different things. They can access webcams, they can access all these different areas of the internet. And obviously you're holding private, confidential information in your customer site, so you don't want that to be out. So when an employee or some individual clicks and installs, it occurs, the malicious code, it executes actions that the user doesn't anticipate or intend, which could include either self-replicating in other parts of the system. So even though an individual employee downloads this software, it could self-replicate throughout all of the organization and all of the users within the network. It could install applications that capture keystrokes or command or system resources. So it's often running without the user being aware. It's in the background. It's you know, slowing down the device considerably. It's putting a big load. So if you notice that, you know, an employee is complaining that their computer is running slow, and it wasn't running slow 2 weeks ago, it could be a show that you do have malware infected in the site. It could block access to files, programs, or even system itself, sometimes forcing the user to make a payment to regain access. It bombards a browser or desktop with ads, or it breaks essential system components and renders the device inoperable. So you might be asking yourself, okay, well, how does this happen? Well, malware can occur because it is a software. It can come in all different shapes and sizes, meaning it could come in the form of an email attachment that the employee clicks on and then downloads unknowingly. It could come through the web, so the employee may access a website that could have software that is not legit and therefore is a malware, or it could come through an application download. So one of the biggest things we see is, obviously there's a large majority more of cloud solutions in the market today. And you can download them through Google or Apple iPhone store, or you can download them from specific websites. And typically, if those specific programs are not vetted by someone internally or us here at Think Technology, you have to look at them as being potential risks to the organization. So giving employees free rein to download whatever they want is not such a good idea in today's world if you're providing a company laptop to that individual. Last but not least is ransomware. And ransomware is one of the things that we're seeing spike massively. As you can see from the slide we pulled on the right-hand side, 80% of organizations surveyed were hit with ransomware in 2021, and that's up from 45% in 2020. So with the move from and I don't want to bring up the pandemic, but 2020 moved a lot of people to their home. And what ended up happening is, with those specific employees accessing the internal infrastructure from their home environment, it obviously made it easier for ransomware or specific hacks to go out and to happen. And why is that? Well, when an individual moves home, they start using their, in their home devices. They're not under the watch of the office. They're not under the security of the firewall that's set up in the internal office to secure a lot of these things, and therefore there's just more opportunity for them to get hit with ransomware. So the common signs you'll see being a victim of ransomware is you'll see pop-up messages requesting funds or payment to unlock files. You can't access your device or log in. It doesn't work for some specific reason. File requests a password or a code to open a specific access to them. So if you're trying to log into your regular accounting system or something like that, it may deny the access. And then obviously, if you see that files have been moved and they're not in usual folder or locations, files have unusual file extensions or their icons changed to something strange. So if these things do happen, it's something you need to look out for and alert us immediately, or alert your manager or any IT service specific person that you're dealing with to be able to help you through this scenario. So really just kind of scaling back, we have phishing, malware, and ransomware. One thing I want to do is pause for a second, and I want to show you a cool, nifty little website here that's called Have I Been Punt? And we'll send this out with the webinar recording, but it's a really easy way for you to see if your email has been hacked, or if a specific application that holds your email has been hacked. It's one I use on a regular basis, but you can see I've got my personal email there. And what it's done is basically shown any breach that my email has been attached to. And this will come into the solutions we're talking to, but you can see LinkedIn was hacked in 2016. There was a scraped data in 2021. So what that means is these websites or these applications that we use on a regular basis, it doesn't necessarily mean that we as an individual have been hacked, but the applications we use potentially have been hacked. And in these wide scale attacks, what ends up happening is they usually can steal your email address as well as your password. So what you want to do is make sure that you change these things on a regular basis, and it should mitigate or help you get away from specific phishing emails, from malware, from ransomware. So let's segue back into like how a ransomware attack typically happens, so you get a good view. It usually all starts with email, if I'm going to be honest. Having good email filtering, having good password management, and having a good system in place will help a lot of this. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really necessarily always be any solution we use doesn't really stop an individual from downloading something if an email comes to their personal email. So it's usually a user that ends up clicking on a malicious email, and then effectively the program or the software is set up to automatically deploy into the site. What it'll do is it'll download a payload onto the individual device. It'll go through the firewall to the internet to go to another server that these hackers have set up, and it'll download and spread across the environment. It'll then attack or execute and start to lock down files such as photos, documents, databases, and lock them. And then it'll go into a demand of ransom and basically say, if you don't pay $5,000, you'll never get the site back. So again, we recommend not paying the ransom and reaching out to your IT service provider immediately for rectification. Scaling into timing, I'll breeze through a little bit more. We got about 10 minutes left, which is good, and we should be able to get on time. So where we go, if we think about companies or a large majority of us out there in today's world, we know about antivirus. Some of us know about patch management. firewall management, which is effectively keeping you secure, backing up your site to make sure that if attack does happen, you can recover your information is super important. And then obviously user training like we're doing today, and penetration testing, which should be done on a regular basis, potentially annually or biannually, where we're going in to see if the solutions that we've put into the site are secure and they're working. And usually that's how most people think about security within a site, and that isn't the reality. Patch management, just for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's effectively keeping keeping applications up to date and secure. So Microsoft, for instance, releases a patch. It's exactly what it means. If you rip a hole in your jeans, you need to patch it. With highly complex operating systems or applications are written by individuals in code, and effectively that code is not always 100% secure. So what hackers do is try to get in through the gateway or the holes that these softwares can potentially have in them, and they'll use that to expose a security flaw and then breach the technology. This happens every single day in our industry, and it's not something anybody can control. So keeping your applications within your site up to date is a very vital thing to ensure security within your environment. So if you look at before, you need a good antivirus solution, you need good patch management, you need firewall, you need backup, right? Those are the four key products that we need. In today's world, it's a lot different. You need antivirus, but mainly what you need is a product called endpoint detection and response. Now, we do provide that through Microsoft Defender. And what endpoint detection and response is it's actually a really sleek solution. It kind of works like artificial intelligence antivirus. And what it'll do is it'll scan for any kind of these malicious actors. So if it sees a file being downloaded that isn't correct, it'll 9 times out of 10 stop that software from being deployed. So let's say an individual employee clicked on one of those malicious emails and then it effectively started to download. The endpoint detection and response, which is far more superior than antivirus, will actually go in, stop the execution of that download, and potentially prevent a ransomware or malware being deployed onto the site. The other cool thing it does have is that if actually that malware or ransomware does get deployed, we can actually roll the device back 4 hours prior to that infection happening. So it's a really cool solution and something to look at if you're on just a normal antivirus solution today. So what are the things that you need differently? Well, password management, that's something we're going to get into in the next slide. You need mail protection, something to filter out poor emails, malicious URL filtering. So this is like whitelisting or blacklisting specific websites that we don't want our employees visiting because there's potential for them to download a malicious thing. I'm sure we've all seen it if we've been on social media like Facebook or something along those lines. We're not safe out there. There's a lot of people who are, putting things out there, and once you click on it, boom, your site is compromised and you're in a bad situation. Whether it be, a popular news headline or music or whatever the case is, it gets you at your worst time. You click on it unknowingly, and before you know it, you're into big trouble. EDR with rollback, which is what I just talked about, and then obviously keeping recovery testing and program whitelisting, which we're going to get into next in the next slides. So the two key things I want to really branch on today is password management and program whitelisting, and you'll see why as I go through here. So here are a couple of low-cost options. Now, these solutions we do offer at Think Technology, and so therefore you can come to myself or Tom to discuss what the costing around it, but it's fairly low-cost solutions that you can actually put into the business and help immediately. The first one we're going to talk about is password management. And it's the company that we use is a product called Keeper, very well-known solution in the industry, and I'll get into it as we go through. So why is password management important? There's a lot of data on this slide, but what it really comes down to is passwords do provide the first line of defense against unauthorized access to computer and personal information. The stronger your password, the more protected your computer will be from hackers and malicious software. So let's take this down and discuss for a quick second. When you think today about where we were 10 years ago to where we are today, most applications that we use on a day-to-day basis are cloud-based. we access a large majority of specific applications through the internet. And unfortunately, just being the people we are, if you're not using a password management technology like Keeper, you're basically having to put in very high level complex passwords. And, they typically create, they have a couple of characters, some words, letters, things like that. And what ends up happening, just because we're human, is we try to use the exact same password across multiple different applications and solutions. And that's a big problem, because once a hacker actually steals your data, let's say it's your personal email and your password, if that password is replicated amongst multiple different websites or multiple different applications, they now have access to all of your applications. So it's very important for you to have password management or product in place where it stores all of your secure logins and passwords in a very secure vault. And that's exactly what Keeper does. So Keeper is an application which allows users to store, generate, and manage passwords for local applications and online services. So it's a very secure online product which allows you to create passwords. And effectively, once you do that, you just simply go to whatever you're using. So let's say you're accessing your accounting package. If Keeper is installed and updated, it will automatically push your login and password details into the website, and therefore you don't have to remember them. So that's one of the things about us as humans, is we usually use the same password just because we want to remember it. But we don't have to remember it with a product like Keeper. So it's definitely a highly rated. If you look up Keeper today on the internet, you'll see very good reviews across the board. And by all means, do some looking into it. But if you do want some more information, Tom or I can provide it after the call. So I created some screenshots. It's not really going to do it justice, but once you see it, obviously in the flesh, either do a webinar online or contact us directly. It's basically an internal vault, and this is one we have for Think Technology. So all of your passwords are stored in a secure vault. This is monitored via high-level encryption. And effectively, what it does is create very complex, strong passwords. It shows the password strength, it shows when it was changed, and then it effectively just stores that for you. Now, what it does also is it makes it really easy for you to change your password on a regular basis. So let's say a site does, somehow get infected, we can simply go and change its password and move on to the next one. So Keeper is a product that we sell locally here in Think Technology, and it's a very low cost solution that you get started in the business today. Everyone would get access to it, and they'd be able to store their specific key passwords for all their different applications within it. Makes life easy, makes your site secure, and again, is coming in at a very low cost price point. The next thing we want to talk about is application management. I know we're getting on to time here, so I'll kind of try to get through this quickly so that we can potentially answer any questions that you might have. Application management. So this is quite wordy, but what I'll do is kind of get into this. This is whitelisting. So what's whitelisting or blacklisting? It's obviously denying access to users from deploying specific technology within your environment. Nowadays, anybody can go out, they can download an application from Apple, from Microsoft, from Google. That's a big problem. And the reason why is when you look at specific third parties, Apple's quite good at vetting technology before they put it on their app store, but it does happen across the board. So if you're looking at Microsoft, Google, Apple, there's always an opportunity that a third-party application that gets downloaded by someone within the organization could be unsecure. And so with SaaS applications exploding, like when you think about it, they make up 70% of the applications used by business in 2022. We all use SaaS applications or software as a service applications. So the last thing we want to do is give our employees free rein to download whatever they want. So we need some level of application management. And what we use and what we recommend our customers use a product called ThreatLocker. So ThreatLocker is an application which will block employees from downloading unapproved applications in the company devices. So what we're actively doing is monitoring any specific downloads. This could be Dropbox. So think about an employee who's leaving the organization. They're not happy, like a disgruntled employee, and they want to steal some company data. What they could potentially do, go download a free Dropbox solution, start to take some of the company files and download it into Dropbox. And then as soon as they leave the organization, they have access to those files through their individual account. If we're not blocking those specific users from doing that, we're creating a big problem for ourselves. So what ThreatLocker does is it effectively blocks any attempt to download applications which are not already previously approved by your organization or by us at Think Technology. So what we do is effectively, if someone tries to download an application, we get notified of it, and what we do is we reach out to you immediately. We say, hey, Janice has tried to download this specific technology. Is it approved? And give you the ability to say, why is this person downloading this? For what reason? What potential use? And then go from there. So here are some kind of views of what that does. It basically tracks file access, tracks changes and deletions, and it'll obviously block unauthorized apps from being downloaded. It's definitely something that will stop malicious software or malware, ransomware from being downloaded, because the last thing we want is someone going to a specific random website and downloading an application that isn't secured. So with that being said, we're coming right up to time here. I will leave it open for some questions. I know it went quite quickly. We will be sending out this recording and slide deck after the call and making it available for the attendees. But if you want to go ahead and use your questions box, if you have any questions, by all means, we'll take a couple of minutes to go through. And if not, we'll wait about 2 to 5 minutes. And if we don't have any questions, we'll just go ahead and sign off, and we'll be sending a follow-up email after the call. So I'll leave it open to any questions. Please go ahead and type them into the chat box, and we'll answer them on the. All right, we got a good question here from Andrew. And he asks, on my Outlook app on my phone, there is an option to mark an email as junk or phishing. Is option 2 effective at all? 100%. Microsoft is one of the top products. It's actually the product that we recommend. And when you're getting that option, it's effectively for you to start to triage. So if you do see something that doesn't look odd, like it's odd, it's marketing data or any of those things that come through, once you move it to junk or phishing, what Microsoft will do is actually block its file extension or its email extension from ever being able to contact you again. It'll start to file those in your junk folder automatically. So by all means, it is effective, and the more to file those junk email experiences, the better and better it'll be in the future, in the long run, for your business, for you, and for obviously for the company. So yes, 100% effective. Is there any other questions anybody has? We have some experts on the call today, so by all means, if you don't be shy. Yeah, we have another one from Andrew coming up. Anyone else out there want to ask a question, feel free. Anything they've heard today that may be confusing, anything else like that, don't feel shy. We're all in this together. Okay. I went to Have I Been Pawn site and got a message, no sponsors. Currently does not any sponsors for you. I'm not sure what the meaning is there. So we're not affiliated with Have I Been Pawned whatsoever. It's just a website to check and see. You type in your personal email or your work email and see that if that specific email has been used in any of the breaches by applications out there that you have you have out there. So, just bringing it up again, it's not affiliated with us by any means, but it's something that you can use today to be able to go in and check. So at the front prompt screen, effectively what you'll do is just type in your personal email or whatever email you want to check, and then you scroll down and it'll give you a good view of any emails that have been in there. So for instance, I always use LinkedIn or Dropbox because they're key ones that we see. So Dropbox obviously suffered a breach in 2012. LinkedIn suffered one in 2021, 2016. So that means that it'll tell you exactly what was hacked and what was stolen there. So you'll see email and passwords were compromised data. So that means that the first thing I should be doing as an individual is changing my password, right? Like that's the number one thing I should be doing to stop any risk, because what hackers will rely on is the information they stole is up to date, and therefore they'll use that to penetrate any other areas. So email address, genders, geographic location, job titles, name, social, so quite a large haul there. The biggest way for you to solve this problem is by having a good password management system, like the one we discussed, Keeper. So what it'll actually allow you to do is once you see that website has been hacked or whatever the case is, simply go in, change your password, and move along. Oh, okay, perfect. Andrew answered the question on that one. Love it. All right, with that, it doesn't seem like there's any more questions coming in. We will go ahead and move on. We're about 6 minutes over, so I do apologize on that, but it seems as though a large majority of you stayed on, which is great. So that means you've obviously found the information good. So what we'll probably be doing after this call is sending out a survey to get your view on today's webinar, what we could potentially improve, if it was beneficial, all those kinds of things. By all means, if you do have any questions or queries further to this about the solutions we talked about today, you can reach out to us directly at business@thinktechnology.com.au. Don't worry, for all of you who attended, we'll be sending a follow-up email in case you don't know how to get a hold of us. So with that being said, I will say thank you for today. Thanks very much for showing up. Really hope it was beneficial and information filled. And we look forward to talking to you soon about security in the future and any other services that we provide you at Think Technology. Thanks again. Hope you all have a great day.